chance to actually fish this weekend a little bit if the weather's nice, and deer season and turkey season's in at home. So I can promise you all the stuff that I gather throughout the year at Bass Pro Shops is going to get exercised at some point this weekend.
Now, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention that today is a huge day in racing history. Now, depending on what birth date he uses,
yeah, well, he's
Red
never,
Farmer is either 71
somewhere,
or 84.
Well, yeah, I'd say we kind of said 72 to 82, but I think we can narrow it down. It's somewhere closer to 78 to 83, somewhere in that range, but still racing at that young age, so it's pretty cool to see Red getting around. And
he ran in the old Prelude to the Dream. What's it like to be around someone like that you look up to, that has so much history in the sport, a Grand National champion back in the 60s, and just a legend on all the different short tracks all up and down the East Coast?
Well, it's, for me now, I've known him for years now, but, I've got to see him race a lot, and, people that don't know him very well, to hear the stories of how they used to do things, and, when they actually, when Donnie and Bobby Allison, when they lived in Florida before they moved to Alabama, and then once they got racing and going through the country and racing 4 or 5 nights a week, that was what really gives you an appreciation for where things were back then to where they are now, and how many decades that he's raced to, and all the changes he's seen in racing along the way.
I think that the event in the 2013 season that everyone either wanted to attend in person or watch on national television, it was the highest rated ever truck race on Speed, Fox Sports 1. And you look at the dirt track race at Eldora with the trucks, such a success. What was the one concern you had going in that you were nervous about?
Weather. Definitely, that's the one thing that we couldn't control, was the weather. And it's not like a pavement track where they can bring a jet dryer out and in 2 hours have the track back in shape. Yeah, you're blowing mud around at that point. So, that's the hardest thing, is it's to prep a track. You have to prep it with a certain amount of water to get it in shape. But, that's the one thing that can, if it rains at the right time, it puts you out for the whole night. So that's the hardest part.
Which leads us to a question from Rick Knapp via Facebook. He wants to know, do you think you'll ever see Sprint Cup or Nationwide cars ever competing on dirt? Or do you think that the Truck Series, they'll just keep that as their own special event?
I don't know. That's a really
could
good
we
question.
see the Nationwide cars come to Eldora as well?
Doubleheader. I never thought I would see the Truck Series there. So, the Truck Series is proof that anything can happen, and you never know what's going to happen in the future. 40 years ago or 44 years ago, however long it was, NASCAR raced on dirt. So, it's kind of made full circle now with bringing the trucks back. So, it's definitely possible for it to happen, for sure.
Well, Charlotte Reinhardt, she sends in her question via Facebook. She's going to the Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday to experience the Ride Along NASCAR experience. And you've given a lot of people, especially down in Atlanta, when Coca-Cola takes over the Atlanta Motor Speedway, people special rides, and you like to scare them as well. She wants to know, how did you feel the very first time in a race car?
Well, I kind of got, I guess, baby steps up to a race car, because I started when I was 8 in go-karts, so I was kind of broke into it, and by the time I got up to a nationwide car back in '96, and got to a place like Charlotte, it was it was definitely different, but I had ran a lot of race cars to that point, so I'd had a lot of experience. But to go from just driving a street car and then going to Charlotte and getting in a stock car, it's going to be a pretty cool experience.
Anything, in the back of your mind as a memory of someone you've really scared, giving them a ride along?
I think I scared myself. I can't even remember who the ride along was for, but we had one at Charlotte, and blew a right front tire and hit the wall, and actually the guy had a concussion from it. And it scared me, because I've never crashed on a ride along deal. So to have that person, we hit the wall with the right side of the car, and that person was sitting on the right side, and that made me a little bit nervous.
It seems like, another question, it seems like every year the Coca-Cola commercials always outdo each other. One of my favorites, just because when I was a kid, I was a Bobby Allison fan as well, and he had the Coca-Cola Matador, the AMC car out of the Roger Penske stable and out of his own shop. And, you know, and they had the 70s commercials, but then 3 years ago they brought it back and, you know, Teach the World to Sing in harmony.
You should sing that, not speak that.
Well, that's true.
You should sing it the way it was written, not speak the words.
Really?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the question is, what's the funniest part for you of behind the scenes of all the Coca-Cola commercials?
The outtakes are almost better than the commercials. I mean, when you hear everybody talk about the Coca-Cola racing family, it really is a family. I mean, it's a family atmosphere. You know, even the dysfunctional family that we are with Denny and Joey and myself now, we're the three brothers that disagree sometimes, but still when we do this stuff, we still get along with each other. We still have fun. And we all forget about the stuff that's happened on the racetrack, and we all have fun together. And it's one of very few opportunities that we all get to be around each other for that length of time, where we're not worried about racing. And so we all have a lot of fun, and it's neat. I wish the fans could see more of the stuff that they don't see versus the stuff that actually is what they end up showing. But the commercials are always funny. Coke's always done an awesome job of their marketing and the commercials they come up with, and knowing that we're a bunch of dumb race car drivers, we're not very smart actors, so they realize if we can make fun of ourselves, everybody laughs along with us. So you know, the commercials are fun, and you know, we enjoy doing it. It's stuff that like I said, Coke creates an atmosphere that we all enjoy doing it together. When
you take away the stress from you're not at the racetrack, you're in a studio, much like the minivan commercial this past year, which everyone thought was hilarious. You know, we had a question come in via Facebook about that minivan commercial, and do you think you'll ever see NASCAR do any other kind of series, maybe even a minivan series of some type?
God, I hope not. I don't know that they could make a minivan cool, because I've seen a lot of soccer moms that look really good in minivans, but I've not seen a good-looking minivan yet.
The most fun as far as that commercial itself. And then you look at what happened later in the year between Joey and between Denny, and then you see that commercial come on. It's actually kind of humorous when you see all this transpired this past year.
Yeah, it's funny because I even got my day with Joey as well, which was the same day with Denny. But you know, that's the great thing. I mean, we're in a sport where 43 of us are all competing every week and you know, want to win, and there's always two sides to a story, and it doesn't matter whether it's brothers and sisters at home or whether you know, it's us as competitors. We all, you know, one guy's sitting on one side of the equation, the other one's sitting on the other all the time. So it's a lot of fun, though. We all enjoy it, and like I said, it's probably, the Coke racing family is probably the one and only opportunity that I ever had to hang out with Dale Sr., Dale Jarrett, Ricky Rudd, you know, Dale Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, you know, Steve Park and those guys, and hang out in an atmosphere that was non-competitive. And I learned so many cool stories and heard so many cool stories from being part of the Coke racing family that it's, you know, if that's all I ever got out of it, it was well worth it. So, you know, it's been really cool for the last 15 years.
A lot of bench racing there. We head back to the questions. This one from Michelle via Facebook. What are you doing now in your spare time, as well as the rehab, now that you're not at the racetrack racing?
For the last week, I've been in hospital bed. So we had a third surgery that happened a week ago yesterday, and I currently am really searching out a mattress sponsor because I'm spending a lot of time laying down, unfortunately. So this is a great time for a mattress sponsor to come out of the woodwork, and I'm a great test pilot right now. So there's no doubt that I've caught up on, this is as good looking as I'm going to get is what I've come down to, because beauty sleep's not working anymore, obviously. So I've pretty much come to terms that this is all I'm going to get.
The good thing you're a race car driver,
yeah,
who can win. Kathy, who is a 7-year-old, who has a 7-year-old named Andrew, he wants to know, what is your favorite dirt track to race at? Now, probably, obviously, Eldora, but is there another one besides Eldora? I mean, back to the old, maybe Ascot days, or? I
never got to race at Ascot, but I got to go a couple weeks ago to Williams Grove. That's one that I really like. I mean, it's a pretty historic track. Man, there's so many places. There's just a lot of really cool dirt tracks. Oshweek in Canada is one that I really like racing at. There's a ton of dirt tracks across the country that are a lot of fun.
One race that always seems to create some funny headlines. You talked about all the fun you have with the Coke Racing family of drivers. What about Las Vegas? And when you think about Las Vegas, you think about the end of the year banquet, but you also think about the NASCAR after the lap. And I think about maybe Brad Keselowski driving, in the lap around Vegas, different people having fun. In New York City, I remember someone did a smoky burnout. The police were not pleased.
Yeah, there's a lot of times when I've been involved and the police were not pleased, but that happens.
What's your favorite moment of NASCAR after the lap?
Just the fact that we get to go down Las Vegas Boulevard, and to shut down Las Vegas Boulevard, which is huge for tourism. It's for them to literally have to shut it down for us to do that lap and see all the people around. That's pretty cool. But there's been some pretty behind the scene moments where Brad Keselowski's had bladder control issues that have been quite entertaining for all of us drivers. So it's we're going to have to get him a Depend sponsorship. So.
Oh, mercy. When you look at, it's tough to have a segue. It's tough to have a segue off of that.
That's why you're a trained professional, and Coca-Cola especially brought you in just for this event because they realize you're a professional that actually changes shades. Now you are red.
Absolutely. We'll head back to the questions at this point. And
as you were.
There you go. Mazak43 via Twitter wants to know, how did you get started in race carts, go-karts?
I guess when I was 5, my parents bought me my first yard cart that we just rode around in the backyard. And, you had to be 8 years old to race. And they took me to a race when I was 8. And I don't know how my dad talked a guy into let me drive his son's cart and practice a couple laps, but I really enjoyed it and liked it, and so that's how we got started. So parents a couple weeks later bought me my first racing cart, and we started racing.
Deanne Sanders via Facebook wants to know, if you're not a racing car driver, or if you decided to retire now, what would you be doing?
Testing mattresses out a lot. It's been tough being outside the car and not racing, but I went to my first dirt race during Dover weekend, which I hadn't been to a dirt race since I got hurt. I've been to the majority of the Cup races since I got hurt. Either been there in person or been there on the radios that our team set up for us. So, being a car owner, it's even though I haven't been able to be there and compete as a driver, I get nervous before the start of the race every week still as an owner, just like I do when I drive. But, it doesn't mean that I'm ready to hang up a helmet yet by any means.
Now, when Denny Hamlin, he had to step out of the race car because he was injured, he said when he sat up on top of the pit box, it gave him a unique and different perspective, and he also had a greater appreciation for what the roles that a lot of the other guys on his team played. But he also learned a lot, and he felt like he gained an education of how to race, much more along the lines of the Mark Martin school of racing, thinking more and planning ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of other guys that need to learn the same lesson. Denny's pretty smart from that side. He's always kind of had a race savvy about him anyway. But, it does. There's been times that, I know a year I got hurt and had to get out of the car at Dover and watch Ricky Rudd drive the car. And I know Todd Bodine finished a race for me at Bristol one year when I was injured. You do get a different perspective. But, and it is. I was at the track at Charlotte this weekend, and after Mark had his problem, it's hard to watch 3 cars. When Mark dropped down, it was easier to watch 2, but I really got to watch Danica a lot more and really focus on what she was doing. And Ryan was pretty self-explanatory, but it was fun to watch Danica, and I've watched her enough now. I can watch and I can tell without even looking at a stopwatch if she's comfortable in the car or not. So. I think it was fun during the course of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to watch, or Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to be there at the track and watch and listen on the radio, and it does give you a totally different perspective than when you're behind the wheel, and that's been probably the first time that I've been able to really help out, and it's because I'm not in another car out there at the same time she is. I'm outside looking in.
What's impressed you the most as far as her learning curve in whatever area that has stood out to you where you go, okay, I can see she's really catching it?
You know, Martinsville, she had a great run and ran 11th, and you know, this weekend, you know, she finished 2 laps down, but you know, there was a point in the race where 2nd, 3rd, and 4th had caught her and got around her, but she raced with those cars and wasn't in the way of them or interfering with their race with each other, but ran the same pace, and they actually got by her, and then she actually ran them back down, and you can tell that she really is good at learning, watching other people and being around good cars. And you know, at the beginning of the race, if we can get her qualified a little better and she gets up starting around better cars, I think you know, it's really going to turn her around.
You know, now being in the hospital with your surgeries, you've also learned about the exciting nutrition that they have in the hospital. And Nancy Burkhart, via Facebook, she chimes in, I'm in a hospital food service industry, and I heard that you just got out of the hospital. What is your favorite Jell-O flavor? I
did not have any Jell-O. I went to CMC, and I will be honest, their catering was, it's like, that was the only positive thing, is I actually got to eat warm meals, because I'm not very good at the cooking thing. So normally I get something to eat at the track, and it's cold by the time I get to eat it. So I actually got warm meals, and it wasn't as bad as I remembered hospital food being from, you know, 15, 20 years ago.
Now, when you look at your championship celebration and your parties in, you know, New York City and Vegas, what has been the one party where something took place that was fun and memorable for you?
You said during the parties?
During, you know.
I don't remember anything from those.
Anything unique as far as your rooms or anything like that, or?
Vegas
has to be a lot different than New York City.
Yeah, New York City, we actually had a pretty good time there, but Vegas has been pretty good too. We've had some neat accessories added to our room that have made the experience a little more enjoyable.
It's always fun in Vegas. Next up, NASCAR bucket list via Twitter chimes in. What's on your NASCAR bucket list that's left?
Still a Southern 500 win. I haven't won at Kentucky, and a Daytona 500. If I could accomplish those 3 things, I would never complain about anything ever again. When it comes to, you know, my NASCAR career, I would say it's complete at that point.
Of the 3, which do you feel is the toughest to win?
I think Daytona's still the toughest. It's you know, it's just so hard. I mean, the cars are so even at Daytona and Talladega that it's you know, if you can stay in the lead draft, you got an opportunity to win. So you know, it's just timing and being at the right place at the right time and putting yourself in the right position.
Jason chimes in through Facebook, and almost kind of like the Bill Murray Groundhog Day movie. You know, if you could race a race over again and over and over, you know, what would that race be? What's your favorite race to race?
Oh, if I could race one over and over and over. Man, I don't know. I was thinking if there were races that I could go back and change, and there were a lot of those too, that if I could go back and do it all over again, maybe I would have a Daytona 500 win under my belt. But you know, losing the one to my teammate Ryan Newman, I think that was back in 2000. I don't remember what year it was. 2008. Thank you. That's one I would like to do over again, which the end result may have ended up with me crashing by changing lanes. But you know, I saw them coming, and they were coming at such a high rate of speed that I was scared that if I tried to change lanes and make him have to push me, that it was going to wreck me and a bunch of other people. And so just to test that theory out, I did that a year ago at Talladega and crashed the whole field instead. So it was, I learned my lesson. I should have just stuck to my first plan.
Well, Mason chimes in from Facebook. Wants to know, there's so much going on at Stewart-Haas, not only this year, but also adding you know, another team in 2014. What are your expectations for the entire franchise next year? Because there's so much going on. There's so much building within the team.
I feel like if we can get through all the building and expansion and you know, get focused on building the race cars for next year, I think there's a lot of, I think the possibilities are endless next year. I mean, I really, I think I've had a great teammate with Ryan Newman for 5 years, and that is something that I'm really going to miss next year. But at the same time, to have another one of my good friends, Kevin Harvick, come on board, and have Kurt Busch on board, and still have Danica there, I think, Kurt and Kevin have a great working relationship because of their RCR tie now. And Danica and I work really well together, and I think the four of us will work well together with that. And I feel like the theory is if two's better than one, then four should be better than three. So hopefully we can do a good job of getting not only Kevin's team turned around with new people, but at the same time building an entire new team for Kurt. It should be pretty exciting.
Now Ariana writes in, she wants to know, what other sports do you like besides racing?
Been watching a lot of football lately, so it's a pretty cool weekend when I can watch all the NASCAR stuff going on at the tracks, and in between all that I'll watch football. So been watching baseball playoffs and keeping up with that a little bit. So catching those games and catching the football games on the weekends.
Now another question from Mary Ann. She writes in, what were you like in high school, and were you very studious?
I can't even spell studious. I was just kind of your average kid. I really didn't stand out very much. I was a lot more shy and quiet than I am now, which probably would have kept me out of a lot more trouble if I'd have just stayed that way. But I just was kind of a kid that I didn't do a lot of things outside of school other than my racing, and I was still racing go-karts then, so that's all I really cared about and wanted to do. And so that's what I focused on, and everybody else either played other sports in school or did a lot of stuff on the weekends where I was racing all weekend.
One thing that came up earlier this year, and it started out in our broadcast on television, just about something that Darrell Waltrip saw that Danica Patrick was doing on entry into the corner, and just the way she was working the wheel and stuff. And I had a long conversation with Tony Gibson, and he said that was something that you had to overcome a little bit when you first came into Cup, just because of going from an Indy car where the entire feel is completely different.
Yeah, the Indy cars had so much downforce that when you hear people talking about opening up their entry, it's you start a lot higher in the corner and then come down where. And that was a lot easier to do with an Indy car because it was lighter, had more downforce, so you could do that, and it would make the corner more round. With a Cup car, you kind of make it more egg-shaped because it's such a heavy car that you have to start turning a little earlier to get it down in the corner. And that's one thing that we've had to work with her on a little bit, is saying this thing isn't going to drive like an Indy car. You're not going to be able to do the same things. And so little by little she picks that up, and it's just a matter of being able to watch and help her out with that, and she's pretty good at it now.
I was talking to some of the pit crew guys, and they said that she actually also attends the video when the guys all break down the pit stop video from the day before. Typically it's on Monday. Personality-wise, she just seems to fit with your whole group, between what will be your teammate Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch as well. She likes to have fun, and
oh yeah.
She's got a great, humor, and likes to poke fun.
She is definitely one of the guys. I mean, and physically, she's not one of the guys. Mentally and her demeanor, with not only the crew but us, Ryan and I as teammates, there's times and settings when she has that girly side to her, but there's a lot of times when this little cute girl is sitting there and you're having conversations going, did she really just say that? And it's hard to embarrass me, but she's one of the few people that in a course of a conversation can actually embarrass me by something that she says. So she does a really good job. I think that's something that, being a female in a male-dominated sport, she has the ability to come in there and make everybody else around her. She does a good job of making everybody around her feel comfortable versus her trying to fit in. She makes them feel comfortable, and everybody just relaxes more around her.
Now, a double one here. Julie Greenaway has a 4-year-old daughter who is watching right now, and she is saying hi. Can you say hi back?
Hi back.
And then Sean Slaughter via Facebook, he writes in, where did the name Smoke come from? Where did that come from? Because that's one of the questions you always, where did that nickname come from?
I've had that nickname since 91 or 92, and it was when I drove pavement sprint cars, and it was very easy to spin the tires a little bit on the pavement tracks because the cars were so light. And it was not what you wanted to do, but I wasn't very good at throttle control yet. So one of the guy that owned the car, his brother actually nicknamed me Smoke, and so you know, it just kind of stuck. And you know, as I went through the ranks, the you know, crew guys that I've known knew me from back in those days and knew why I had that nickname, so it just stuck.
Travis Williams, he writes in, what's your favorite racing movie? So much has been publicized recently about the movie Rush that Ron Howard made about Formula One with Niki Lauda and James Hunt. When you look at all the racing movies through the years, what would be your number one movie? And what would be your number one movie of all time for some fans who may never have heard?
I think Six Pack was one of my favorite movies because it had NASCAR and dirt racing in it at the same time. The Senna documentary I really enjoyed, and I'm sure the new movie Rush is one that that's one that I still want to go see that I haven't seen yet. But and you know, all the comedy movies about NASCAR and Days of Thunder, they were all, you know, good movies in their own ways. But definitely my favorite movie outside of racing has been Smokey and the Bandit. So
and you've met director Hal Needham, friends with Hal? Yeah,
that's and you're very good friends with him. So that's been a pretty cool thing to meet Hal, and you know, it's neat. I mean, I bought a Trans Am because of that movie, and you know, it's one that they just don't make movies like that anymore.
Now, stepping outside the race car and with your injury and seeing the reaction from the fans, and when you walk through the garage and how excited they are, and you've always been a humble person, but is it humbling just to see what you mean to so many people because of what's happened?
It's easy for them to keep up with me in the garage. I can't get away from people now like I used to, but no, it's neat. I mean, it's the humbling part is, you know, even people that may have some other driver's shirt on, and they come by and they're like, you know, get healed up soon, we miss you being at the track. And that's something that's really meant a lot to me. It's, you know, you don't expect that from people that are wearing somebody else's, you know, another driver's shirt or hat. And you know, it seems like it doesn't matter what hat or shirt they're wearing, that when they see you, they're wishing you well and want you to get back. So that's something that's been pretty flattering and humbling.
And when you were in Richmond, you debuted your new scooter.
Yeah, my hot rod.
Your hot rod. And when you went up to the garage gate, was there a NASCAR official there and he was like, whoa, time out, you can't take a golf cart into the garage?
Yeah, I don't even remember which official it was, but...
was it Buster?
Yeah, it may have been.
Buster Otten.
You know, it was the first time I'd been to the track since I got hurt, and, you know, had this plan of this is what we were going to do, and the team guys put a lot of effort into getting the scooter ready, and he goes, yeah, you can't ride a golf cart in here. I said, well, it's not a golf cart. So, you know, it was pretty cool to see everybody, and, you know, during the course of the 2 days there at Richmond, got to see all the NASCAR officials that I hadn't seen for a while, and getting to see different crew guys and drivers. I mean, those 2 days absolutely wore me out. I slept the whole day Sunday, and never realized that not driving a race car was going to be so tiring, but it was cool to be back.
Are you pleased with where you are as far as, you know, you've got a calendar and you don't want to push yourself too hard? And that's been what a lot of fans have said. They hope that you don't push yourself too hard.
Yeah, I especially this week. I mean, the third surgery was because we had some infection that they had to get out, and you know, that was the biggest thing that they talked about after the surgery. I was more worried about bones healing and skin healing, and you know, the doctor was more worried about infection, and you know, he really said the first 2 months were the kind of the critical time, and we were at the end of that 2 months for the most part, and then all of a sudden, you know, a spot popped up that was infected, and so that caused the surgery last week. And you know, I went from you know, starting to walk again, and you know, not great. I mean, not just walking around the house like normal, but I could actually take 8 or 10 steps at a time, and you know, went from doing that to, you know, having to spend the majority of the day again, starting last Monday, laying down. And so you know, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I've never looked forward to going to the doctor in my life. And for 3 days, that's all I've thought about for 3 days is being able to go to my doctor's appointment tomorrow and see how it's progressed in a week, because I haven't seen, you know, where they did the surgery since it was over. It's been wrapped up, and so I'm kind of anxious to see what it looks like, and hopefully I won't pass out by looking at it, like I did numerous times after the second surgery. So. But hopefully I will get good news, and I'm really, as crazy as it sounds, I'm really looking forward to getting back to physical therapy again and starting to get back on my feet again.
Shannon Gerald writes in from Facebook, who designs and paints your helmets?
Nick Pastura paints them. We've been with him a couple years now, and I don't think I've met a normal painter yet. I think they all smell way too many paint fumes. But
they all are unique and have a unique perspective.
Yes, he's a great guy though, and the talent that these guys. I don't care which painter it is. I mean, all of them. They're out there. They just are artists, and that's kind of our trademarks as drivers. That's our signature, is our helmets. So, when you get a painter that you like, you hang on to them.
Next question is from Arrow Skies, writing in via Twitter. If a cheeseburger, this is a deep one, by the way.
Sounds like it.
If a cheeseburger were named after you, what would be on it?
I don't know. I'm on this big
See, I told
kick.
you it was a deep one.
I'm on this big kick where I like hamburger, cheese, ham, and an egg on it. There's a restaurant here in town that I go to, and that's one of the burgers that they serve, and has an egg over easy on it, and I really love that. So it's got ham, egg, and hamburger with cheese. So that's one of my favorites now.
Definitely making all of us hungry. Real quick, when you look at one thing that I think you've mentioned before that you're very proud of, if you look at Richard Petty, when you think of the King, you always think of STP and his long association. And from the get-go, day one, you've been a part of the Coca-Cola racing family.
That is my longest Cup sponsor since I've been in the Cup Series. So I'm pretty proud of that. Like I said, when I started, it was Dale Sr. and Dale Jarrett, Bobby Labonte, Ricky Rudd, Steve Park, Kyle Petty. They were just, it was just amazing. And I was this young kid I just was in awe that I was invited to be a part of this group, and something that I've, like I said, I cherish all those memories.
Well, Smoke, thanks. And if you've missed any part of our live chat right here on the Coca-Cola Racing Family live chat, be sure to tune in tomorrow beginning at noon on NASCAR.com for an entire replay. We appreciate you for the past week filling up all of our inboxes with all of your questions, great ones. And until next time, have a great race weekend, everyone.